January 14, 1973. East Dallas. A 16-year-old boy walks home with friends after school. Somewhere between that moment and nightfall, Norman Prater vanishes. For 52 years, his family waited. His name stayed in the files. And somewhere in South Texas, an unidentified teenager lay buried without a name. This is the story of how Dallas's longest cold case finally closed, not through DNA, not through technology, through something far older, a brother's memory. In 2025, a medical examiner in Aransas County was reviewing old files, cold cases, unidentified remains, bodies that had waited decades for a name. Among them was a teenage boy, killed in a hit-and run on Highway 35 back in July 1973. No ID, no family came forward. For 52 years, no one knew who he was. But buried in that file was something that hadn't been examined in years. A photograph. And that photograph would change everything. Norman Prater was born in Dallas in 1956 or 1957. By 1973, he was 16 years old. A kid growing up in East Dallas, living with his family, walking to school with friends. He had an older brother, Isaac. The two of them grew up together, the way brothers do. Playing, fighting, leaving marks on each other that would last a lifetime. Norman carried two distinctive scars, one on his lip from a dog bite, the other through his eyebrow from a fight. Small details, the kind only family would remember. On January 14, 1973, Norman was last seen walking with friends in East Dallas. After that, nothing. He simply disappeared. His family reported him missing that same day. The Dallas police opened a case file. And then, the trail went cold. Months passed. No sightings. No leads. Norman Prater became a name in a filing cabinet, one of thousands of missing persons from that era. Then, in July 1973, 6 months after Norman vanished, something happened 300 miles south. In Rockport, Texas, near Corpus Christi, an unidentified teenage boy was struck and killed in a hit-and-run on Highway 35. The driver fled. No witnesses came forward, and no one claimed the body. Local authorities did what they could. They photographed the victim, documented his injuries, noted his approximate age, mid-teens, but without a name, without anyone looking for him. He was buried in Aransas County, an unmarked grave. John Doe. Case closed but never solved. For decades, these two cases existed in parallel. A missing boy in Dallas, an unidentified victim in Rockport, different jurisdictions, different databases, different decades passing. The Dallas police never stopped looking, not officially. Norman's case remained open, the longest active missing persons investigation in the department's history. But as the years turned into decades, the people who remembered Norman grew older. Witnesses scattered. Memories faded. The case became a file folder in the cold case unit. Enter Detective Ryan Dalby, Missing Persons Unit, Dallas Police Department. He inherited the Prater case as part of his caseload, one of many unsolved disappearances from that era. In late 2025, Detective Dalby received something unexpected, a message from Aransas County, from their medical examiner's office. The medical examiner had been reviewing old unidentified remains cases, standard procedure for cold case units, and in the file for that 1973 hit-and-run victim, they'd found something new. A photograph, different from the standard autopsy images, a clearer shot, one that hadn't been examined in decades, possibly never properly circulated. The examiner forwarded the image to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, a clearinghouse that connects missing persons cases across state lines across decades. The center flagged a potential match, a 16-year-old boy who went missing in Dallas in January 1973, a hit-and-run victim found in Rockport 6 months later. The ages lined up. But a potential match isn't a confirmed identification. For that, Detective Dalby needed something more. He needed family. Norman Prater's brother, Isaac, was still alive, still in the Dallas area. After 52 years, he was about to see his little brother's face again. Detective Dalby arranged a meeting. He showed Isaac the photograph from Aransas County, And what happened next closed a 52-year-old case. Isaac recognized him immediately, not from the shape of his face, changed by time and circumstance, but from two small scars. A scar on the lip from a dog bite Norman got as a child, a scar through the eyebrow from a fight between brothers, details only family could know, details only Isaac could remember. After 52 years, Norman Prater had a name again. The case that had haunted the Dallas Police Department for half a century was finally closed. But identification isn't the same as answers. Knowing who Norman was doesn't explain how he got from East Dallas to Rockport, 300 miles, 6 months, what happened in between. That question remains unanswered. How did a 16-year-old missing from Dallas end up on a highway near Corpus Christi? Was he running away? Was he taken? The driver who struck him was never identified either. They fled the scene in 1973 and were never found. Whatever they knew about that night died with them, or remains hidden. Some mysteries don't resolve completely. Sometimes a case closes not with all the answers but with the most important one. A name. An identity. A person restored to their family. Norman Prater can finally rest under his own name. His family can finally grieve with certainty. After 52 years, the waiting is over. This case stands out because of how it was solved. Not through DNA databases, not through genetic genealogy, not through the sophisticated technology that's revolutionized cold case work. It was solved through old-fashioned detective work, a medical examiner reviewing cold files, an agency sharing information across state lines, a detective tracking down family. And most of all, through memory. Isaac Prater hadn't seen his brother in 52 years, but he never forgot those scars, the dog bite, the fight. The marks that made Norman, Norman. The Dallas Police Department officially closed the case in late 2025. It had been open for 52 years, the longest active missing persons investigation in department history. Detective Dalby, speaking about the case, emphasized something that gets lost in cold case coverage. These aren't just files, they're people, and the families waiting for answers never stop waiting. There's a lesson here for anyone interested in how cold cases get solved. Technology matters, but it isn't everything. Human connection, institutional memory, family bonds, these matter too. Organizations like the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children exist specifically to bridge the gaps between jurisdictions, to connect dots that might never otherwise be connected. If you have information about a missing person, even from decades ago, it's never too late. Cases can stay open for 50 years. Memories can still matter after half a century. The details that seem small, scars, birthmarks, childhood injuries, these become crucial when other identification methods fail. Document them. Remember them. They might matter someday. And if you found this case compelling, if stories like this interest you, subscribe. We cover cases like Norman's regularly. Cold cases. Investigations. The slow work of finding answers. Norman Prater was 16 years old when he disappeared. He would have turned 68 or 69 in 2025, the year his case finally closed. His brother Isaac carried the memory of those scars for 52 years, a lip, an eyebrow, the small damages of childhood that became, ultimately, the key to bringing Norman home. The hit and run that killed him remains unsolved. The driver was never found. The 6 months between Norman's disappearance and his death remain a blank space in the record. But what can be known, what Isaac fought to know for half a century, is now established fact. His brother didn't simply vanish. He died, and now he has his name back. The Aransas County medical examiner's decision to review those old files made this possible. A routine check. A photograph that had been overlooked. Sometimes that's all it takes. Across the country, there are thousands of unidentified remains and thousands of missing persons. The work of connecting them continues every day in medical examiners' offices and police departments. Most of these cases won't get headlines. The work is slow, methodical, often unrewarding, but every identification, every name restored, represents a family that can finally stop waiting. If you know someone who went missing, especially from an earlier era before digital records, consider reaching out to organizations that specialize in connecting cases. The connections might already exist. Keep photographs, document distinguishing features, because 50 years from now, a scar on a lip might be the only thing that brings someone home. Norman Prater disappeared on January 14, 1973. He was identified on a late afternoon in 2025 when his brother looked at a photograph and saw 2 scars he'd never forgotten. 52 years. Dallas's longest cold case, solved not by technology but by memory, by family. By a brother who never stopped looking. Some cases take decades, some questions never get answered. But sometimes a single photograph and a single memory is enough. Norman Prater's home.